Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. And we're gonna talk about Bel-Air, guys. Okay, so this is Bel-Air, PA to LA, season 1, episode 5. And we have Will picking up Trey from the airport, right? And he's just of course, showing him the scenery, telling him, do what I told you to do. We're talking to Alexa and telling her, to play his Philly playlist. And they like, hey, it worked. And, of course, Trey is taking in all the scenery and he's like, wow. And, seeing the house and seeing how big it is. He's like, is this a house or a museum? We got Uncle Phil helping, Hillary pack up because of course she's going into the influencer house. She telling him how to pack the boxes and he like, okay girl, well why don't you get up, all right, and show me how you want them packed and then I could do it. And she essentially tells him like, oh no, go ahead, you doing a good job. And of course they're talking about her mom, right? She feels like her mom really doesn't, show her support or understand where she's coming from. Like they live two different types of lives, or want two different types of things. And he's saying, you and your mom both need to cut each other some slack, okay? And she was saying, her mom's vibe is a more, upbeat vibe than hers. And he was like, I'm just saying, you gotta, try to understand where she coming from because she does love you. And she does worry. And so that's where that comes from. It's not a place of, her trying to be negative or bad with you. And so he was saying, maybe she could ask her for some help because, of course, Hillary is also trying to plan this, little event at the house where all these influencers that, are going to be in the house that she's going to be staying in are coming over and they're getting a chance to meet them. And, I guess kind of like a farewell party to her as well. And so, Trey mentions to Will, like, I know it's going to be hard for you to leave all of this and give all of this up. And Will is like, huh? What are you talking about? And then he's like, well, since Rashad is dead, you could come back to Philly. And I don't think that Will even, thought about that. I don't think that even came to his mind at this point. And so you could tell that this is kind of like, making him think like it wasn't as automatic to him as it apparently was to Trey. Trey's already pretty much got his mind there where he's expecting for Will to be coming back. And so nonetheless, he's showing him around. They say hi to Carlton. And at one point, we even hear Will say, like, because Trey says something about Carlton. And he's like, nah, cut him some slack. He was like, see, it's cool. So it actually seems like, he's more so getting comfortable and getting used to being there. And maybe him and Carlton is not, like, ready to cut each other's heads off right now at this point, right? And we see Aunt Viv is trying to paint, but really she just sitting there looking at a blank board. Right now I guess she can't get into her groove or whatever. And, Will comes in there to let her know that Trey is there, and Trey done brought her a gift. Okay, apparently it's some cookies from Philly that she loved. And then, he's telling her he want to get in the pool. He's like, unlike Will, he can swim, okay? And she was like, okay, she'll go ahead and set everything up with that. And so then we had Uncle Phil getting news from his campaign manager, actually saying that his numbers are up. And Phil had told him to stop in once Trey gets there. So when he, when he comes in the office, Trey is just kind of like, oh yeah, because when I got shot and the campaign manager's like, huh? Wait a minute, is there something I need to worry about? And Phil is like, nah, it's good. And he basically, tells them that he got them these concert tickets to see D Smoke. And they like, oh wow, okay, like they're gonna go to this D Smoke concert or whatever. We also had, Aunt Vi talking to Will's mom about whether he should stay or not because, Trey of course mentions again that Will would be able to come back home. And she's like, oh, if that's what he wants to do. Like I said, I don't really think this has crossed anybody's mind. And when she brings it up to Will's mom is kind of like, yeah, I was thinking about that. I probably would have him come for a visit Thanksgiving. And then after that, he could basically be back home. And I'm assuming that's eventually they're going to bring it out, but it just seems like it keeps being this mystery, like more to the story that we don't know when it comes to Will and his relationship, with them, and the fact of them wanting to stay there, like, I don't know what it is, but I keep picking up on something extra anytime they're talking to the mom, and how Phil and Viv talk to each other in reference to Will, and how it's like, we owe him this, we gotta do this. And so it just seems like it's a little something extra there, and I'm wondering what that is. And so Will's mom starts to go in about, listen, this was just a temporary thing. I am his mother, okay? And he's going to be here with me. And at one point, Val was saying, well, let's let him make the decision. I won't say anything from my end. You don't say anything from your end. She's like, I didn't mean it in that way. I just was saying that, he went to the Kappa party with, Phil last week. They really liked him. And, he's having all these different people talking to him. And so Will's mom is like, I'm not shocked. I've always known my son was talented, and he's always been getting different calls and doing great in school. That was never the issue. And he had recruiters calling for him since he was a freshman. And so, Vin was like, I get that, but I'm looking at it on an even bigger scale than that, as far as politics, as far as, art and all different kinds of things that he could have advantages with. And so, they kind of just, in the conversation with her saying that she won't say anything else about it, and they will see what he want to do. And so Trey is giving Will updates and telling him how the team been losing left and right, but he's basically like, once you get back home, all of that is gonna stop, then we will start winning again. He's making fun of Will's uniform and his, that he got to wear for the team. And then when he's telling him that they should, get dressed to go down for dinner, he's like, you're kidding me, right? You don't really got to get dressed. This is a joke. And, he's making different remarks on that. And then Will is like, it's just something they do sometime. I mean, Hillary is having a party, so I don't see why it would be so crazy that he would have to get dressed. But he had an attitude about that. So at this point, Will goes down. He sees how Hillary set everything up downstairs for the party. So he like, oh, wow, this is nice. Oh, okay, you ain't playing. You got everything set up. And so we also see that she had these cameras going around. And I'm like, something about these cameras going to come back, isn't it? So she's showing him where she got one hidden, because she's like, she want to be able to just catch certain things and not necessarily, have the people know that they're on camera, or have it where they're just filming from their phones. You want to be able to get other footage. And so he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he asked her, is it on now? And then she's like, no, we good. And he was like, okay, because I wanted to talk to you about something. He's like, I'm really debating on going back to Philly. And she asked him, well, why would you want to go back to Philly? And he's like, well, it is my home, and my friends and stuff like that is there. And she was like, I get it, but I mean, if you like it here, whatever the case may be, and you want to stay, then you should stay, and it doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking or feeling or whatever the case may be. And so, you could tell that he's thinking about that. And then, Phil did his homework on Hillary's party goers. At this point, Viv comes in and is talking to him, and he's giving her the breakdown of who everybody is and how much they made. And she's like, shoot, I've been in the wrong business all this time. So she like, well, how you know all this stuff? He was like, you didn't get the email? She was like, yeah, I did, but I kind of skimmed it. But no, Phil wasn't playing, okay? He was like, going in on who each person was and what they specialized in. And so they made mention that it was these two brothers that like to do pranks. And she was like, well, I hope they know that they can't do them pranks in here, or they black asses will get kicked out, okay? So as the party is starting, we're seeing that Trey has been drinking throughout the parties. So I'm like, oh boy. And you seeing them eating, and Phil is sitting talking with one of the guys. Mama Viv is sitting talking with this young lady that's telling her, like, wow, I'm liking your style and the fact that you travel different places. And I actually do, a thing where I go around and interview different women that have been places that your average person would not have been. And, Viv was like, nah, that's not for me. And she was like, no, don't sell yourself short, okay? You got star potential. You got Ashley having a conversation with the influencer that they said was like a sexuality influencer, and she's talking about the fluidity of sex and asking her different questions. So everybody was kind of having like somebody that they could vibe with a little bit. And you had freaking Phil, well, I'm sorry, before I even get to that, you have Phil giving a toast, and giving his blessing for Hillary. At one point he's standing talking to one of the influencers, and they end up getting it on camera where he's like, you're all into politics and stuff like that. Are you okay with, Hillary going into this house? I would think that would be a little disappointing for you. And Phil gives this whole breakdown how Hillary was a premature baby, and she was so small, and he was like, he just prayed for her to be able to be strong and be, grow on her own and all of that stuff, and wanted the best for her. And he was like, the same way that he felt that way with seeing her as a baby, he's feeling that way now. He's like, it doesn't matter to him what she's doing as long as she's doing something good, and he always wants the best for her and stuff like that. And so the guy's like, shoot, I wish you was my daggone father, okay? He was like, wow, that's beautiful. And so at this point, because Trey has been picking up glasses, drinking them throughout the night, he is now drunk, and he's over here, tapping Carton on the shoulder and telling him, because he was just standing there staring at Carton for 1 minute, like long minute, and Carton was like, okay, what the heck is it? And he was like, oh man, come on man, relax. He was like, this is like Will's goodbye party too, since he's gonna be leaving, since Rashad got chopped out. And I'm like, Trey, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I know as close as him and Will are, and as they would speak and try to keep each other updated with things, you gonna tell me that Will didn't tell you that everybody in that house didn't know the situation, and that is not supposed to be something that's known? And so at this point, Trey is just spilling all the tea, and of course Carton acts like as if he did know the whole time. And at this point, he's just looking at his father with disgust, because of course Trey was saying that your dad pulled some strings and basically got him out. And so at this point, Will notices that he's been drinking, and he's like, come on, are you drunk? Like, what's going on here? Whatever the case may be. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And he tells him to, sit down and drink some water. And we had them bring this, like, tray in with the cover over it or whatever, and it's steadily moving. So they like, what's going on? This thing is moving. They was like, y'all better stop. Whoever's playing this prank, cut it out. And so come to find out, when they pick up the lid, is a daggone teddy bear dancing and shaking their behind underneath. And then one of the guys come running in butt naked, and he dancing too. And I was like, okay, that was a bit much. Some of them was like, and some of them was laughing, but they was like, okay, we got that prank out the way, or whatever the case may be. And then Carlton goes in to talk to Uncle Phil. At this point, he's upset. He's saying, you broke the law for Will. You always going on and on to me about how I gotta be honest and, be stand up and can't do this and can't do that. And he essentially was calling Uncle Phil a hypocrite. And then Uncle Phil was saying to him, sometimes you gotta be able to grant people grace. You don't know the whole story, or whatever the case may be in the situation. And if it was something I could do to help, I wanted to help. If it was you in that situation, I would have helped you. And it just was, something horrible. And so Carlton talking about, I know you not comparing his my anxiety into the situation with Will and him having a gun, and that's all he keeps going on is about the gun. At this point, Uncle Phil tells him he needs him to, not say anything about this. And he was like, oh, well, I wouldn't have to keep it a secret if, it was that something where you did the right thing. And he was like, but yeah, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, because, if I say something, and my word is bond. And then he goes to Will, and he's like saying to Will, what are you going to do? Pull a gun out on me now? And like I said, Will is shocked, because it seems like him and Carlton actually have been getting along a little bit now. And he's like, I thought we had an agreement that we would knock on each other's doors. And so Will at first is still like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you can cut the bull, because I know everything now. I know that you had this gun and you went to jail, and my dad did all this stuff to get you out, or whatever the case may be. And he was like, I need you to stay away from me and stay away from Lisa too, and we all know that Carlton already felt like it was more to the story going on than, what I'm saying, what was, on the surface, and that he kept telling him he was going to find out. So it was like, now he knows that it wasn't just about Will coming there to get better grades. And so, we have them the next morning with Uncle Phil flipping pancakes, and they're all joking or whatever. Is Will, Trey, Ashley in the kitchen with him, and then Viv walks in and she's like, "Oh, so what do we owe this pleasure?" And Carlton basically comes in and says that him and Lisa is planning on, setting up plans for her mom's memorial. And of course, Aunt Viv likes Lisa a lot, so she's like, anything she needs, let her know that she can have it. If she wants to use the house, she can, and all of that good stuff. And when Uncle Phil asked Carlton will he be able to join them to go to the concert, he's like, no, I think, me working with Lisa's gonna keep me busy and I'm not gonna be able to come. And so it's like he's trying to avoid Uncle Phil now, and he don't want to be bothered with them. And of course he wants to make Carlton feel away pertaining to the whole Lisa thing. And so then Will and, Trey are on their way to go to the concert. Trey actually comes up and says hi to Lisa and stuff like that, and was like, my boy's always talking about you. And Lisa basically says to Carlton, because Will was like, okay, well, we got to go. We're going to talk to y'all later. As they leaving, she says, what's going on with Will? He seems a little off. And of course, Carlton is like, oh, I don't know. Come on, you want to come and sit over here? And so, then they get to the concert, and at first they having jokes. They saying, what you even know about D Smoke to Uncle Phil. And Uncle Phil is like, don't get it twisted, okay? I'm a hip hop head, okay? I know all about him. And Trey is talking all this smack, but then when D Smoke actually comes up to him, he's like, you're D Smoke. He's D Smoke. That's D Smoke. So they laughing because they was like, you couldn't stop this boy talking from a mile a minute, and from him saying all the different stuff he was going to ask you. But now when you actually hear, he getting tongue-tied and speechless, and he can't even say, anything. He is essentially starstruck. So, that was funny. So then, Joan, Aunt Viv's friend, has set her up with this meeting with the art guy Reed, okay, who was Michael Ealy, all right, and he's sitting there just giving her these compliments. She talking about how the paintings make her feel and how they look, and he's telling her how good hers is and how he was staring to them for hours, and she was like, well, I don't know what she told you, but I haven't really been able to get into anything. I don't have anything specific. It's been a long time since I've painted, and she's kind of selling herself short, but it seemed like it was another vibe going on there too, okay? I don't know what I was picking up on, but I'm going to be keeping my eye out, all right? And he's like, because they was like talking all sensual and stuff. I was like, okay, are we just talking about art here, or is there something more going on? And so, she was letting him know, though, that she haven't done anything. He was like, well, now is the time. You don't want to wait another 15 years. And then as he's taking her into these different rooms and she's looking at the different paintings, he's like, this is the one that I really wanted you to see. And so she's looking and she's like, okay, this is not really, my cup of tea or whatever. And he was like, no, this space is basically made for you, okay? This is a space where you would be able to put your paintings in. And so she's like, oh, well, I don't think I'm at that level yet. And, like I said, still kind of doubting herself and saying she don't have, work ready right this minute to put in there or whatever. But it looked like he was trying to tell her that he would be willing to wait, okay? And so when she get it and ready, and then, it will be there for her. And so I thought that was interesting. Also, while Phil and Will and them are at this concert, you actually have his police friend, okay, Lisa's dad, come, and at one point he gets a call and he's telling Will and them, I'm gonna catch up with y'all go ahead. And when he goes out there, they're basically telling him like, okay, well, you need to tone down the rhetoric. You got up there talking about defund the police and all this and that, and that's going to be an issue. And Phil is basically telling them, I said what I said. Like, I stand by what I said. He was like, y'all get enough money where even if we was to defund something, you would still make it out. And they were saying, basically that's not the point, is what he said and how he said it, and they can't have that. And Phil basically was saying, well, he's not going to change, what he said. And so, you had Hillary come and give Ashley this bracelet that she was saying, one of the influencers had made, and that is one for her and one for her mom. And she was telling her, it helps with this, it helps with love, it helps with, your energy. And then Ashley's like, oh, okay, how it does that? She's like, girl, I don't know. That's what they say. But, it is cute, and it's not going to make you break out or make your damn, wrist turn green. And so Ashley actually confides in Hillary and was like, I want your opinion. I have a crush on somebody. And Hillary's like, okay, what's this somebody's name? And she tells her, and Hillary's like, oh, okay, but she's okay with it. She's actually telling Ashley, like, oh, that's a pretty name. And she's also tells her, you 12, you don't have to have anything and everything figured out. And she was like, but I am glad that you felt comfortable enough to talk to me and tell me about it and share it with me. So I thought that was really sweet. And I missed that on the last one, okay? It went over my head that Ashley feels like, I guess, she's into girls or whatever. And she was kind of confused probably, about her feelings. And that's why she was talking to the influencer about it. And now sharing with Hillary. So Hillary is the first one that she has actually confided, this in. So that was cute, because I definitely missed that on the last episode. And the fact that she had the crush on the girl. And so you have Trey and Will starting to argue, because Will had essentially mentioned when they were watching, or just as the concert was about to start, he had mentioned that, if he did stay there, or if he was there at least the next year, that Trey could, come down and visit on whatever different breaks. And Trey was like, are you seriously debating and thinking about staying here? And Will was like, well, I don't know. And he was like, yes, you do. I know you. You already got your mind made up. And he was like, oh, they done got to you. You done fell into this trap. And, was just basically coming all out his face, talking about he a sellout and this and that. And I'm like, really, Trey? And so, he's cursing and carrying on. So the lady that's even sitting next to them is looking like, what's going on here? And Will was saying, like, seriously, you gonna act like that? And so, then they just was quiet and they was watching the concert. But Trey is definitely pissed off that Will is even considering staying. And so you had Carlton and Lisa sitting together, like I said, planning this event or trying to figure out what the plans are going to be. And she settles on Mardi Gras, because Mardi Gras was a really important thing to her mom that her mom enjoyed doing. And Carlton is like, okay, cool, then Mardi Gras it will be. We will turn the whole house out and have it, a Mardi Gras setup for you. And she was like, really? And she's thanking him, and she gives him a hug. And of course, Carlton then got to try to turn it into getting a kiss. And he's like, apologizing, because of course she's like, no, I still feel the same way. Like, I appreciate what you're doing and I don't mind being your friend, but it's not looking like she wants anything more than that right now. And so Trey is still acting jealous, okay? At this point, he's pissed off. He's not talking to Will. He's coming in the room with an attitude. He's throwing his bag and stuff around. He's like, oh, I'm just trying to look for my charger. So Will has said to him, like, listen, we can't be mad for the whole rest of the week that you're here. And Trey basically says, like, I doubt I'm making it a week, okay? More than likely, I'm getting the heck up out of here. What would be the point of me even staying? And so Will is like, are you serious right now? And then, of course, they start to let out some of their feelings. Trey is, of course, angry at the fact that he got shot. He's blaming Will, saying, you the one that went back to the park in the first place. You're the one that got arrested and caught with the gun. And Will is saying, whose gun it was it? Who brought the gun in the first damn place? And I was trying to stop them from hurting you, which is how I got here in the first place. And I'm the one that got sent here, not you. And they both have points, and they both are telling the truth, to be honest, because Will's ego is what started it all off. He did not have to go to the park in the first place to try to battle this damn boy with no ball. But right now, like I said, they just letting it all pour out. They're angry. And so they're saying these different things. And, at one point, Trey pushes Will down on the bed, and then Will's like, okay, no, you going went damn crazy now, and he pushes him back and tells him to get the hell out his room, get the hell out of here. And so then we see Viv, she's actually painting now, okay, her vibe is coming in, she done painted a pretty picture of these four little girls. And Will comes in to tell her about Trey. He's upset and he's saying, I think that Trey wants to leave early. She's explaining to him that they're both young men. They both went through a traumatic experience, which is true. And it has affected them both in different ways. She was like, y'all not those little boys anymore. And she was like, friends argue, they go through things. I'm sure y'all will be okay. And he's like, no, this time is a little bit different. And at the end of the day, I think that, he's going to want to go ahead and head out early. And so she says, okay. Phil then finds out from his campaign manager that he's been trending. He's like, in a good or a bad way. He was like, well, both, to be honest. There's two videos that come out of Phil, okay? One where he was actually being recorded the whole time that he was talking about Hillary and how proud he is of her and how, he would be proud no matter what, and about the whole situation of her being born early, the conversation that he had with the influencer. And the other video is of him at the skating rink when he was saying defund the police. And of course they trying to, make him look all bad and negative with that one. And the other one, he came off positive. And the campaign manager was saying, this is why we was telling you to be careful. He was like, you got to be careful with the donors. And Phil says, well, good thing I'm already rich. Okay, rich bitch. I don't need the damn people that's gonna donate or whatever. I'm good. And so Trey's all packed up and waiting for a ride to come pick him up. He's like, I cannot buy into this. All right. And he was like, I'm not going to buy into this and go home soft. And Will was like, you think I'm soft? He was like, it's not that I'm soft. It's that I realize that it's more out there than just Philly. And Trey basically walks away. And as he's getting in the car, he's like, not for me. And so Trey leaves. They both got tears in their eyes. That was really an emotional moment. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. And so Hillary and Aunt Viv finally talked. She had came in the kitchen and was saying that the girl's bracelet was cute that she gave her. And she was like, oh, Mom, you ain't got to do that. And she was like, what? Like, what is it, girl? What is the matter? And she's like, oh, no, every time you say something, you be all judgy. And I know that tone. And if you don't really like it, you ain't got to wear it. And she was like, girl, look. I'm sorry if that's how you feel like my tone has always been. That's not how I mean it. And she was like, at the end of the day, I am very proud of you. And before she could even finish talking, Hillary hugs her because, of course, this is all Hillary has wanted to hear. And she lets her know that that's all I ever wanted to hear from you. And so they embrace. And she was like, well, then let me say it again. I am very proud of you. And Hillary tells her, I'm going to make you even more proud. And she was like, you already have. Okay. And so she walks away from her. And of course, Hillary is smiling about that and feeling happy to know that her mom is proud. And Will calls his mom. And she's like, oh, I was just going into work. And, about to tell him about coming home. And he's like, yeah, about that, Mom. He was like, what if I just want to stay? And she was like, well, why would you want to stay? You could come back now. And she says it's always been him and her. And I don't know, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what else is in this story, because not for nothing, when we started out this series and Will felt like everything was about Philly, it was his mom, which he says this to her, that was always saying this world is a big place, is more than just Philly, and no matter where you are, you will have that crown to put on your head if you have the courage to do it. And he was like, I think that I have that courage now, and this is the place that I want to be. And it was all about, these scouts coming and him going away to college and looking at different places. And so if he's now saying he wants to stay in LA, why would that be bothering her so bad, when to a certain degree, that's partly what she was wanting from the beginning? If he can have it and he can have it there, why would that be an issue? And it just seemed like she wasn't too happy about that. But she did tell him she would support him no matter what. And if that's what he wanted to do, then she was okay with it. And they both were a little emotional about that, And then they say bye and say, I love you. And that is basically how the episode ended, you guys. So I don't know. Are y'all picking up on something extra there too, or is it just me? Was y'all picking up anything with Mr. Artman? Okay. And what do you think is gonna happen with, Phil? What do you think Carlton is gonna be doing next? Do you think he's gonna end up spilling the beans at the school? Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. All right. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time. Toodaloo.